Okay, so we've already done the intro to reflections, and we've talked about the reflecting about an x-axis or a y-axis. Now we're going to show you specifically today what happens when you reflect. What happens to the coordinates when you reflect a figure? So I am going to use graph paper for this one. Okay, so I have a figure here, and I'm going to label it D, E, and F, and I want to reflect about the y-axis. Okay, I want to reflect about the y-axis. So that means that I'm going to be reflecting over this vertical y-axis. Remember we talked about distance last video. So clearly D is 2 units away from the y-axis. So D prime has to be 2 units away from the y-axis. E is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units away. So this also has to be, so E prime has to be 5 units away. And then F, I need to extend my axis up a little bit. Oopsie, that's terrible. So F is 3 units away. Remember we talked about that perpendicular. So F prime has to also be 3 units away. So I am going to connect my points. And there is my reflection. Now, we did this last video, but we have not talked about what happens to the ordered pairs. So to show you what happens, I'm going to write down the ordered pairs of D, which is 2, 2, E has the ordered pair of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3. And F has an ordered pair of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3 and 6. D prime has an ordered pair of -2, 2. E prime has an ordered pair of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So -5 and a +3. F prime, 1, 2, 3, -3, 6. Oopsie. So what you should realize is that if we are reflecting about the y-axis, if we start off with x, y, what does it do when we reflect about the y-axis? Notice the went from a 2 to a -2, so the x term changed to the opposite, and it looks like the y term stayed. This one's kind of a little bit hard to tell. This one, opposite, same, opposite, same. So if we start with x, y, to reflect it about the y-axis, the x is going to be the opposite of whatever we started with, and the y is going to stay the same. So what do you think is going to happen if we reflect about the x-axis? So if we start off with x and y, the x now is going to stay the same, and the y is going to become the opposite. So those are some of the patterns that I want you to start seeing as you are going through the reflections. And so it's a great way to check, because if we end up with something that's really bizarre, like on this one, if we end up with a -5 and a +6, well, that doesn't follow our rule or our pattern. Okay? That concludes part 2.